Hi, this is Eric Smith. I thought I would just take some time to do a quick look on two verses. And what's driving me to do a quick look on these two particular verses is, as Christians, many times we are going to be confronted by skeptics or atheists, and you will hear them say something like this: there are many contradictions in the Bible. Now, I always find this kind of amusing because usually when people say something like that, they actually have never read the Bible, but they've heard other people say this, and so they continually say that. But every now and then, they will find verses in the Bible that seem contradictory, and they throw it at the Christian, and sometimes the Christian is actually stumped. Now, there's many verses that atheists and skeptics can pull out, and maybe one day I'll do a video how there really aren't any contradictions in the Bible, and usually those quote-unquote contradictions fall into like 3 or 4 different categories, and if you know the categories, you can refute that soundly. But there are 2 verses in the book of Proverbs that would seem contradictory on the surface, and I thought it would be great to do a quick look on those 2 verses. This is Proverbs chapter 26, verses 4 and 5, and the Word of God reads this way: Answer not a fool according to his folly, lest thou also be like unto him. Answer a fool according to his folly, lest he be wise in his own conceit. So you'll notice in these 2 verses that they seem contradictory, because verse 4 says, answer not a fool according to his folly. But then the very next verse says, answer a fool according to his folly. So you have back-to-back verses that seem to tell you to do something the opposite of one another. And you may find a skeptic may pull this out and go, well, look, the Bible doesn't make any sense. Look at these 2 verses. But you know what dictates the meaning of both of these verses? It's the context of the verses. And the context of both of these verses are determined by the end of both verses. So let's look at verse 4 again. Answer not a fool according to his folly. First, I want to say that when the Bible talks about someone being a fool, they're not talking about someone's intellect. It's not talking about what they know. There are plenty of unsaved people, skeptics, atheists. They are very intelligent. So we're not saying that they're foolish in terms of what they know. But they don't know the scriptures. And they have no true grasp of morality. So when it talks about being a fool, it talks about being a fool in terms of spiritual things, about the things that pertain to God, and about the things that pertain to morality. So when it says answer not a fool, it says according to his folly. What it's saying is this foolish person, this unsaved person, this skeptic, is going to talk to you based on their secular, ungodly worldview. And you're not to answer them according to that folly. Their secular viewpoint, their philosophies, their man-made things, leaning on their own understanding. You're not to do that. And the end of verse 4 will tell you why. Lest thou also be like unto him. When you answer an unsaved person based on their worldview, you will become foolish just like them. In Christianity, this is part of apologetics. When someone asks you about something about your faith and they're basing their question on their ungodly worldview, many times Christians, instead of quoting the Bible and answering from the Word of God, they'll answer that fool according to his folly. So many times an unsaved person will get philosophical, so we'll answer philosophical. Sometimes they'll lean on their own understanding and come up with their own opinions, and we'll answer that way. We're not supposed to do that. We're supposed to answer biblically. Notice if you answer a philosophical question based on man-made philosophies and opinions or anything like that, if you answer that way, then you're becoming like the very person that's talking to you, and God sees what they're doing as foolishness. Their minds are foolish. They can't discern spiritual things. That's what 1 Corinthians 2:14 says. So they will come up with all kinds of things. Or is it 1 Corinthians 2:4? I'm sorry, I may have gotten the wrong verse. I apologize if I did. But they're going to come up with their own ways of doing things, and we're not supposed to answer them according to that. If they're asking anything about God, anything about morality, we need to answer from the Word of God. But look at verse 5. Answer a fool according to his folly, lest he be wise in his own conceit. Well, in verse 4, we're not to answer them according to their folly, lest we be like them. That is why we wouldn't do that. But in verse 5, you're to answer a fool according to his folly. Why? Lest he be wise in his own conceit. Unsaved atheists, skeptics, people that are into their philosophies, they're wise in their own conceit. And they think they know more than God. So when they start talking to you based on their worldview, what you do is you take their worldview to its natural conclusion to show them that they're not wise in their own conceit. Here's an example. If someone says to you, oh, I'm a skeptic. I'm just a skeptic about everything. That's their worldview. You can use verse 4 and go, listen, just because you're a skeptic or you're a skeptic about the Bible doesn't mean I'm going to throw the Bible away. I'm still going to quote it. But on the flip side, if you're a skeptic, are you a skeptic of your own skepticism? That's verse 5. You're answering them according to their folly. You're taking their worldview and you're presenting it to them and you're showing them how foolish it is so they're not wise in their own conceit. So verse 4 is you don't answer a fool according to his folly because if you do, you're going to be just like them. As Christians, we don't want to be like them. We want to answer from the Word of God. But verse 5, you do answer them according to their folly, but to show them the foolishness of it so that they won't be wise in their own conceit. So this is a quick look. Proverbs 26:4-5. They are not contradictory verses. They actually complement one another, and when you understand the context of both verses, you understand that both verses are right. As always, if you like the videos we shoot and you have not subscribed to my channel yet, hit the button. If you want to leave comments, I want to read them. Please leave them. Any questions, any concerns, I certainly will read them, and I will even get back to you on them if you'd like me to do a video on any questions you have. In the future, maybe I'll do that. But until we do another quick look, understand something, that the Word of God is always good, and we need to answer from the Word of God, even if a foolish person says or does something that challenges us and we feel like we have to answer them according to that. No, we don't. We have to answer by the Word of God. And I almost forgot, if you leave comments, do not be snarky, do not be profane, because we want to be Christ-like in everything we say and do. Thank you for listening, thank you for watching, and God bless.